Doing the,
Okay,
okay,
continue.
good. All righty. Helena, why don't you give us an overview and we'll ask anyone if they have questions?
Sure. This is, as you can tell, this is from July 20 to June 30. So that's pre-order of whole year, end of the year, fiscal year 2021. And like I said, it's pre-order number that should be pretty close, but we can always have some adjustments to it when auditors go through it. So this is how overview look all of it. So because we have the CARE Act money, we doesn't have deficit. We actually have like $1,000 in. So if we can go through each one real quick, Lisa, click on, yeah. Here's the regional. Here's the regional. So you see, we only use our CARE Act for now, $42,000. We offset our some fares. So it's zero out. So we in pretty good shape with regional. We don't have to use a lot of money. Go to next one, Route 81. Route 81, that's what we use this year, and it's a federal program. We cannot use CARE Act on it. Midshore, same thing. So when you look at here, we are actually surplus 15,000, which is offset some of the deficit later. You will see. Riverside Extension, it's 1378. Transient Alcohol has some deficit, so we may use those money to offset that. So we don't have to use CARE Act because we already have the money. So municipal grant, it's usually zero because we have the money. Dial right have some deficit due to we didn't receive as much money from Durham. We didn't receive money. We didn't do with the COVID. We didn't do services in Durham, so we didn't bill them. Also, Middlesex Hospital was less, and advertising. So we usually end up with surplus.
Helena, wait. Can you wait a minute? Under revenue, under the Durham and Haddam line, there's $29,000. So
it's all Haddam.
It's all Haddam. Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We didn't do. So now we go to Extra Mile. Extra Mile, all CARE Act money. So wherever we use it this fiscal year, like I said, it's pre-order. So there may be a little bit more, maybe less. It's 42,000. So when you look in the bottom, I give you some kind of comp that we award $960,000 for, which is it was a part of the CARE Act together, but we put it aside $960,000 for Extra Mile, and we draw so 447. So we still have 812 left. And later on, I will show you what actual money is still planning to draw. It will be in the CARE Act, but that's okay. Later. So now ADA, we went over on ADA 6,000. The DOT only gave us 30,000. So we went over. I don't know if we will try to get the $6,200 for them, but usually it's very hard. So we have to cover that. But we did ask for next fiscal year. We asked for more money because our ADA grown. So
Helena, why doesn't the deficit of 6,000 something show up on your deficit line there?
Because I put it as we can draw that as a CARE Act.
Okay.
So if they don't give us money, then we will draw that from CARE Act, which is legit. It's eligible expense.
Okay. Thank you.
Now taxi voucher is very tricky program. It's showing as a deficit, but actually not, because I didn't have a time to research what happens with them. We collect money from their customers, and we match it, other one, them match one. So saying we collect $3,000 from customer, and then $3,000 we match to it. But so a lot of times we collect last year money from them, and it should go in the defer, and I have to talk to auditors. I think it wasn't done exactly right, so it has to go defer. So last year we should have $2,400 and the surplus, and this year 24, and it's moving because people will give us more money than they use it. As they put a say $200, we match $200 and we tell transportation provider that they have $200. So they put a $200 in their account, and as they take in trips, they bill us and we pay them. So, and then we bill state for other things. So it's it's keep going this machine. So we so that $2,400 should not be deficit, but it's that I put a fund on hand. That's mean we probably had that last fiscal year. And it's not a lot of money, so I didn't have the time to actually research. I will do that later.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Park Connect, that's new program. So this is what we spent actually from May to June, 45,000. That were our expenses, 45,780. They're supposed to be billed, supposed to be paid by DOT. I think they did give us DOT, Joe. I know you showed me like last week or week before they gave 60,000. That's what they did, Joe?
I'm not recalling right offhand, but they did give us a TOD
Yeah,
for
they
last
did
year.
give us, yes, I haven't received money, but we
They
did.
gave us exactly what we asked for.
Okay, so we got a TOD. I just have to, I'm so behind on everything. I have to bill them for that. So,
Yeah, we just got it last week.
yeah, so the whole total program, I think was 159,000. So this is from June.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll see. Do we have July, August still? So we should be okay. CARE Act. So here's our CARE Act money as from July to June. We were awarded for the operation is the CARE Act 1540, 1,540,000, and then the other part was we split. We did with extra mile, so total was 2.6 million. Okay, so when you look at it, so I've already draw money. You see draw money, and then obligated. That's mean I will still draw. I haven't drawn. Just like I said, I'm very behind on everything, and doesn't take one to draw from them. It's just paperwork, backup documentation I have to prepare, and that has to be there. So when I have time, I will draw all this money. So extra mile obligated is 21. It still will take 21,000. And so is a total. You see, we draw 315,729 from the beginning, not just fiscal year, that the last fiscal year and this fiscal year, and obligated is 123,000. So total 429,000 we draw. And when I draw, at the end of this year, we will be $429,000, almost $440,000 from $2.6 million.
Helena,
And
I think it would be helpful if you could do one more chart there that
Okay.
combines everything, because the 2.6 includes everything, correct?
Correct, yes.
So just, if you could just summarize in a chart what you
Okay.
just told us, otherwise it's hard to know
Okay,
numbers relate to each other unless we are you.
yes, I know, I do that every day, so it's, yeah, okay. I will do it, whatever work for you guys in more understandable.
I would just add another chart at the bottom that summarizes everything
Okay,
without regard to the source.
okay,
How much we got, how much we spent, how much is obligated, what's left.
okay, sounds good. I will do that for next one.
Okay,
Okay, so this
Yep.
is my report. So can we go back to the total? So this is our pre-order end of the year look like. So there's no concern.
questions, comments?
Yeah, on the top box there, the total 21 budget, I take it that's 21 to 22, is that correct, Helena?
No, which one? The
It's 2021. Charlie.
2021, that's the
Under-
last fiscal year.
Under Estuary Transit District for the period July 20 to June 21,
Correct. Yes, it's the last fiscal year.
you
We now-
have total FYE 21 budget. Is that the budget from 21 to 22?
No, It's 2021.
Well, under the second column in that box, it says year-to-date budget amount for July 1 to June 30 of 21 of roughly $1,700,000. If that's the budgeted amount for that year, why is the fourth column say it's $2,039,000? I don't understand it. That they should be the same.
Because we passed the budget for 2,039,000 before DOT gave us money. Okay, that's why when you look at the regional, I think we went over there. When you look in the regional, can you click on the regional, please? Please, thank you.
I
So
don't know.
you see that
You're
DOT
talking
only
about-
give us 934,527.
You're talking about the same time period
Mhm.
in those two columns, from July 1 of 20 to June of 21. And you have different budgeted amounts. That's what I don't understand.
I don't understand which one
Different.
the budget.
Two different amounts for the same time period.
Okay,
Okay,
go back to the first
okay,
slide, please.
Okay.
Year-to-date total budget. Okay, the question Charlie's asking
mhm,
is the 1,699,000 shows up as total expenses for the year budget.
okay,
He's saying that the fourth column, which says 2,039,000, should match the 1,699,000 because they're both listed as 2021 fiscal year total budgets.
okay. The
That's his
thing
question.
is, 2,039,000, we passed budget before DOT gave us money, and we predict that's what our expenses, actual expenses, 1.699,354. Okay, so when you look at that, we will predict it, and 2 million take 163,180 for CARE Act. We only took 43.
Well, I'm not sure that we're still explaining this.
Okay, I don't understand. Yes, what we do, we pass the budget for like the next fiscal year. We always pass budget because we don't know what the fuel will be. We don't know what the what other things. So we usually board pass the budget a little higher than it is, and then we deal with what DOT gave us. So so when we actually spend less than we were estimated we will spend. Okay.
So Helena, what you're saying is that column, that year-to-date budget amount, is what we have based on the TODs. And the other
Correct.
one is what we asked.
Yes.
1,007,000. The 1.699 column.
Yeah, there's always a difference between what we pass and what we actually get.
Correct.
when we have
And that's
passed
what I
the
tried to
budget,
say.
We're going to get.
Mhm.
So that's
So-
that's
Yeah, but the actual, Joe, the actual is on the first column.
Correct.
I think we all recognize
yeah.
that. You're comparing it to a budgeted amount.
Okay, we're talking
Well,
across. each
but we have
other.
we
Charlie,
have
are
two
you
budgets.
finished?
Mhm.
Charlie, are you
Yeah, we have
finished asking the question? Okay, Joe, go ahead.
Okay, so we have two budgets actually. We have the budget that we pass that we make up based on our hopes, and then we have what DOT actually gives us, and DOT gives us about 70% of our funding. So that's what we have to actually live with, which is different from the actual expenses.
It's not like town.
make
It's
more
different than
sense?
town.
So we essentially have two budgets, really. We have what we pass, and then we have what DOT actually gives us, and what we have to live, which is what we have to live within.
Mhm.
Charlie,
And
is
everything
Charlie-
based on what DOT gave us, that's what all the deficits come from. So when you look at the budget, 2 million, you see we remaining 243,000. We don't have the money.
No, understand that, but I think Charlie's point.
That's I still don't quite
Okay.
get the difference there, and I don't understand what remaining budget means, because the year's over. I mean, you set your budget, whether it's under column 2 or under column 4.
Well,
I don't understand what remaining budget is supposed to indicate to us. So I have two questions and I'm still not sure. I understand the first one, though.
mhm. And
But
that will,
the second one, I don't see why there'd be a remaining
we
budget.
can rearrange this and I don't know, we can do different way maybe for this year so you guys understand better. You want to meet with me, we sit down and explain what you
Yeah.
guys don't understand so we can do it so we all be on the same page. It's fine with me.
I think we can make it more clear.
Okay.
What's
So
important,
I just need
understand-
some input, like I said before.
Sure.
I understand because I do that every day and I need input from you guys. So when I present to you guys understand.
okay. Just to summarize, the first column, we will have spent right now, depending on various accounts payable, et cetera, 1.8 million.
Uh-huh.
That's what you're estimating, right? For the previous fiscal year.
Uh-huh.
The second column, the 1.7, is
Uh-huh.
what we have received so far from from DOT. The 1.699,
Yes,
okay. The year-to-date variance column, the third column, that 106
that's
is
the
the difference
difference.
between columns 1 and 2. And I think what you're also saying is we expect to get that 106
Yes.
from
They
DOT.
haven't- Yes.
Okay, all right. Column
No,
4,
No, we don't expect to get that from there,
the 106,
right? That's
we-
what we went over what we got from DOT. So we will have
Oh.
to use the CARES Act
Correct.
oh,
Yes.
all right, well, I meant
because our
Yes, well,
revenue
yes,
is
so
way
we
short
get
of
from
what we
somewhere.
expect.
the CARES Act. In other words, we don't have a deficit of 106.
No.
Okay.
Right. We will balance it on the CARES Act.
All right, column 4, the 2,039,000, that's the budget we passed last June for the 2021 year, which is always higher than what we think we will get and what we think we will need. Column 5 is the difference between the 1.8 and the 2,039,000. So Charlie's point, I think, if I can speak for you, is that columns 4 and 5 can be misinterpreted because they don't reflect where we actually ended up. And calling not column 2, the year-to-date budget amount, that isn't really the budget amount. That is year-to-date funds.
Income from DOT, is that, if I
Right.
understand that?
Basically, is that right, Helena?
Yes, that's the money DOT gave us in a deal with that. Because
Okay,
what they give us in TOD, if we go over, we have to use our local money, which is now is CARE Act money.
Mhm.
If we under, we still get, if we under DOT budget, they still only give us what we actually spend. So they give
Okay.
us less.
You-
Yeah,
right.
that's how they work.
Would
Let-
it be easier to call it like a DOT budget amount?
yes,
Correct. If we have like a DOT budget and our budget.
I will work with you, Helena
Okay,
and Joe, on what might be a less confusing way to try to present it. But
Sure.
I understand, Charlie, that I certainly understand your concern. I guess I'm just used to looking at it that way. Are there
Yeah,
other questions?
I don't see that they give us, reality here, some of these numbers.
Well, the reality number is the first and second column.
correct. That's
Right.
the one actual numbers that we have to work with. So that's the thing.
The columns 4 and 5 are kind of FYI. They aren't controlling the organization.
Yeah, I understand the first three are, let's say, cash numbers.
Yes, that's the
Four, you
status.
got 4 and 5, just, I mean, conceptually, or I don't see what they tell us, anything that they tell us.
The only thing they tell us, Charlie, is where we initially started the year with the budget that was approved by the board.
Yeah, I've got that, Susan, thank you.
Okay, all righty. But I think your point is well taken, and we will work on a different format that makes it easier to understand and more representative. Helena, does the management line not include first transit costs for
Correct.
April, May, and June. Okay,
Yes, I
That-
just give you what actual, yes.
okay.
So
That
that's
has,
why I said pre-order, because we still have some expenses, we'll go there, and then we will decide if we will take, at the end, when we close it, we to zero our budget, the no deficit, we will probably take CARE Act, which is goes
the first,
on the regional.
the first
level.
transit dispute has been resolved. I will share
Okay.
those numbers with you.
Yes,
Additionally, under labor, the 501, where there's $65,000 more, is that because of moving the operations manager from the first transit contract to
yeah.
in-house?
Mm-hmm.
That's
It will
mostly,
be, it's, yes, it will be, that's June still thing, so there, I gotta look at it. So in the end, it's 106,000, which we will probably take from CARE Act. So,
So there be the special projects manager in there too.
yes,
And
this-
that-
yes, project,
yeah.
that's right, okay,
Yeah.
because I built to
And,
half of
and,
it to them.
and Patrick and our,
Yes,
and our maintenance
that's-
director.
I
that
thought
was-
it's so
None of
hard.
that was anticipated initially.
Yes,
okay.
and DOT, yes, hold some money for June.
Are there any other questions on the specific categories of revenue or expense in total?
Once you settle that, I have a question for Joe. My meeting is being recorded, and apparently I've been asked to sing patriotic songs. And I really would like you to remove "this meeting is being recorded" because I really don't sing well. Is there a way you can get rid of it?
You should be able to click an OK button. I
Huh?
think it says like, I think it says OK or something
I
like
think
that.
it's continue maybe.
Click. There's a blue button that you can click to acknowledge that you're okay with being recorded.
Oh, yeah, so leave meeting or got it?
Got it.
Got it. That's the one you want.
Ah, wonderful. Now I don't have to sing and you don't have to hear me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
One-
new update. They changed it.
Thank you.
One last question, Helena, on the utilities. There's quite a huge overage there. Is that, what is that attributable to?
It's a rent and it's a rent, all the office rent and actually utility electric. We got
Oh, the
the
rent- the rent.
second union there.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
rent is in the utility line.
Yeah,
Okay, I did not realize that. Okay.
okay.
Does anyone else have any questions on any of the specific categories of revenue or expense? Okay, there being none, we will move to cash flow. Okay, Helena?
Well, as you know, the top one is all our account payable, that's our expenses in the monthly, what we should still expect to pay. Oh, I'm sorry, I have I just saw, I have it on management, it's supposed to be 15. Doing that quick, I was sick last week, so I didn't have that much, I put it 151, it's supposed to be, I just caught it there. So all this cash flow will be different. Can we change the somehow, Joe? It's 150, it has to be changed to 15 on management services. I put it, I wasn't sure what to put it, I figured that 15,000, we have it. If we have less, then there will be more money we will have enough for cash flow. Over
It's-
here, I have to put a 15, 162 because I didn't have numbers. So I
Yeah,
just
I'll give you numbers.
Okay. But
Those are-
that will still look good. So if you do that, there should be not 300. I'm like, why was 300? I don't know what happened there. Sorry, I was working very quick. Yes. Yes, put it there. Mhm.
Helena, was that a typographical mistake, including that 9 under the August column? Should it be 15,162?
Yes,
Yes, they
yes,
just
that's
changed
that's
it.
what she just fixed it. Yeah,
Okay, that,
yeah. I I was doing yesterday to make sure you guys get it for it because I wasn't in last week. half a week, I would say.
Yeah, that was very noticeable.
Yeah. So yeah, and I don't know how that happened because I remember overseas must be last minute I fix it. So when you look at that, it's so that's our expenses so far, the estimated. And when you go account receivable, you will see all the things, how much money we have been owed by DOT. DOT 2021, 134,000 for that. Here, Park Connect, that's the money I estimate for the other ones. And the fiscal year 2021, we already run now July and half of August. We haven't received even TOD, so I cannot even bill them. So we paying our fuel, our payroll and all that from our general fund. That's why we need the general fund. So when we receive all the stuff, you will see in the bottom cash flow, it's pretty good. And on the top of it, you can see we have right now on our checking account 110,000, 23 in payroll, 44 in the capital, and the savings only 36. We usually have half the amount in savings account. It's all the money been used. So when we receive all the rest of it, it will go back there. Also, I have to point out that our payroll, because Park Connect, it's almost, as Susan can see, and she already questioned me on that. It's $60,000, went up from like 40, 42 maybe. So so when I bill all this money and DOT start paying them, our general fund and our savings account will go back to usually to $200,000 there, $250 maybe, and the rest of the money. So it's a lot of money to be collected from DOT. Hopefully we will receive it, like I said, end of August. Then we should be okay.
Well, we're more than okay. If you look at cash at
Yes.
the end of the period, it's
Fine.
now
Yes.
$800,000. So
Yeah.
we're doing well. Okay. Any questions on cash flow?
Helena, when you correct that management services number on the payable, does that have an impact on your cash position on the bottom two lines?
Yes, it's more money because it's gone from paying 150 to only 15. So it's
It went up by
135,000.
135. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a,
Yeah. So it goes in our favor because
Yeah.
we want a less payable, more receivable.
so you're gonna add a lot of money in the bottom. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Item number 4, discussion of Route 81. Could someone put up the Route 81 chart from Helena's budget information so we can take a look at this? The reason this is on the agenda is you may recall that this was a 3-year pilot program and it is due to expire in August. The reason that we've put it on the agenda is to talk about what our alternatives are for continuing to fund it as a pilot program for an additional year, being that COVID significantly negatively impacted ridership and therefore the suitability and efficiency of this particular route. We had asked DOT last year to agree to fund it for an additional year. They said they were favorable toward that, but we haven't received anything along those lines. So I'm going to ask Helena and Joe to tell us what our options are for continuing to fund Route 81 for another year.
Probably more to Joe. I can tell you, I have a little chart. I don't think I put it there, but we have estimated. I just put it there for DOT. They've been asking. We have left for 2022 $44,000, which is July and August. That was 44 or estimated $44 left because we were a little in the budget because they gave us for 3 years 471,000 for 3 years, and we we spent 415, so actually it's for 56,000, sorry, because it's state and federal. It's left $56,000 for July and August, and estimated DOT was asking probably, I would say in good 12,000 per month, 10 between 11 and 12,000. So it's say 25,000. So we have left, we have 30, 25, 30,000, 31,000 will be left. And so we didn't spend, estimated. So I don't know, Joe, been talking to you, to FTA, and I don't know what did you hear from them, Joe, what they saying?
Not yet. I'm waiting to hear back from FTA
Yeah,
about if they're allowing any extensions, if there's funding left over because of COVID, and they are checking on that. So there may be opportunity to spend on the rest of that, which would give us a couple months.
you
And
give us more, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and of
I
course
know
the other obvious source to use until we work with DOT, because we thought we'd have everything else done with DOT by now, and our initial plan is, I'm sure Susan could tell you, was let's get that done and then we'll talk about, we'll really push them on the 81, but it's gone longer than we expected there. So
Right.
just as Helena showed you, and what we set aside in the CARES Act for Extra Mile, where we were way under last year. So, I mean, our underage there is enough for a full year of 81. So we definitely have the CARES money to continue it.
How much are we talking
Wow.
about? The 159?
How much,
Yeah, so it's like Helena
yeah,
said,
will
it's
be-
about 12,000 a month, so a little less than that. So you figure about 140 a year.
yeah, I
and
think
If you
yeah,
can go to the
150, max.
CARES Act page,
Yes, look at that, that's right.
no, actually it was under the Extra Mile page. Sorry,
No, you go to, yeah.
that's the better one because that shows how under we were.
So what you were saying before is that the 115,000 that we're under on extra money is sufficient to fund a full year of
Not
81?
necessarily, well, it's a little less than a year, but it'll keep us. It could keep it going while we wait for DOT to get us this letter, and then we can start pushing them on getting funding for this. I mean, we still have more. We still obviously have more CARES Act money than that even, but we specifically set aside money for Extra Mile that we're not going to totally expend. So
And is the
we
money
have
for,
plenty of CARES money to continue it while we work with DOT about instead of even just trying to get them to temporarily do it, we could try and get them to just make it permanent.
a couple of questions on that. Is the extra mile allocation fungible? Can we dip into that for Route 81 on our own?
Yep.
Or do we need approval?
We set that aside so that we just internally set it aside so that
Okay,
we don't go
all right.
spending it without knowing that we're dipping into our Extra Mile money that has to last 3 years. But as you see, since we're well under this year, and again, we have lots of other CARES money, but we just didn't want anybody looking at it and saying, "Oh, look at all this CARES Act money," when 900 something, whatever it was, is set aside specifically for Extra Mile.
Okay, but that of course was multi-year extra mile.
Correct. Yeah. So I'm only looking at what this year only, not
The other
future years. We
question,
want to continue our budget.
the other question I have is the extent to which we dip into CARES Act funding for this and other projects creates a situation where DOT is certainly less inclined to provide their money for any of this. Is that a concern?
Well, they know the
They
CARES
already
Act's gonna run
asked
out.
us. We have to provide, they
No,
didn't pay us. Yeah.
That was on. Yeah, that's another.
Yeah,
oh,
they June, they
Yeah.
will not pay us June till we show them what we spend, so we didn't double dip it. So we have to provide this
So-
spreadsheet.
Yeah, they're gonna do that anyway.
This is not a good response, guys. It's very confusing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One of you tell us
No, well,
what's
she's
going
saying-
on.
Kind of saying two separate things. They're asking everybody for how much they've drawn on CARES Act money, just in total, and they want to see where everyone is. We don't know why. But separately, I wouldn't tell them that we're using CARES Act money. I would just tell them that we are continuing it while we work with them to get it done, to figure out permanent funding. Either way, CARES Act is not permanent funding.
Yeah.
It's going to run out,
Right,
and they know that. So
okay, so,
they can't see it as a permanent solution. They might see it as a temporary one, but they can't see it as a permanent one.
so the plan is to use excess CARES Act money to continue the Route 81 pilot for one more year through August of 2022, at which point some kind of permanent funding, if the route is determined to be efficacious, will be put in place.
I say internally amongst ourselves, yes, but as soon as we get done with this, getting this letter from DOT on the other items, we start talking to them about funding this route, so we can try and get it done sooner.
You mean permanent funding?
I wouldn't tell DOT we're paying for it for a year.
I'm sorry, you would not tell DOT we're using CARES funding for this for a year?
And not for a year now. I was telling them we're keeping it month to month, and while we work with them to try and fund it.
Okay, well, that's important information to know, especially for the upcoming board meeting. Does any of this require a motion from this committee?
It doesn't hurt, well, except that then it's on the record.
Well, I guess I'm looking for your recommendation of what it is you want us to do.
Well, if it's in the, I mean, technically it's in the budget, so it is funded in the budget. So it's just what do we want in our minutes and on the record?
Joe, why don't we
If we-
pass a motion?
I'd
Susan,
say authorize for, to continue the service. I wouldn't say the source while negotiating with CONDOT for permanent funding. How's that for?
Su- Susan,
Yes, Peter.
I would think if we pass a motion, it's a lot cleaner in a presentation to the board. And it's no effort for us since we have absolute confidence in what we've been looking at. And sometimes things like that make a board feel happier.
Okay, let's
I don't care.
okay, let's entertain a motion to continue Route 81 service while we negotiate with CTDOT for funding of that service. Is that adequate, Joe?
Yes, I think so.
So
Okay,
moved.
Peter, thank you. Second,
Second,
Charlie, thank you. Further discussion? Okay, there being none, all in favor?
aye,
Okay, opposed? Abstained? There being none, the motion is carried. Okay, extra mile fares. You may recall that we've talked a couple of times at this meeting about whether to charge a fare for extra mile. The service has been free since it was initiated in May of 2019. And if the decision is made to charge a fare, what should that fare be? And when should it be effective? So Joe, why don't you tell us what your recommendation is at this point?
So, well, first we will have to go to public hearing instead of, so we'll
In order to
propose
charge
it.
a fare?
So we'll propose a fare, and we'll have a public hearing. And we come back and decide to what we will adopt.
Are you proposing that we institute a fair?
I think if we're going to have a fair, it's probably, I think we've run it long enough that it's still growing.
It's hard to understand.
right.
You're breaking up, at least for me.
Okay.
Or are you recommending that we establish a fair for Extra Mile? That's question number
Is
one.
that better?
Yes,
Okay. So I think that number one, if we're going to have a fair, that was always our intention, that eventually if it became permanent, we would have a fair, then I think we have run it long enough free that I think we know how it's performing, even though it is still growing. So I think we should start down the process of setting a fair for it. Yeah, you're probably looking at January to start date, just by the time we do a hearing, come back to the board meeting and then implement it. So it still gives several more months of free fare.
okay.
And then also
And-
give us a better idea of how it actually performs once there's a fair. Are people just riding it because it's free? And will they stop? I mean, obviously we'll have some impact, but we won't know what that is until we have a fair.
Correct.
And
With regard,
while we do have funding that doesn't require a fare for 3 years, if we come back after 5 years of running it and charge a fare, it's probably going to be a little more pushback than now.
Mhm. Well, we can say it's COVID and other initial related. Do you have in mind a particular dollar value, or do we not need to address that right now?
We don't necessarily, I guess, have to. No, we would propose something. So what we've looked at is how we can make it work with other fixed route fares.
Correct.
And technologically, we can do that. We could do it all so that they get a pass and it'll be good to transfer to a fixed route as well. So, we could still do that would require us to charge the fixed route fare $1.75.
Is that what you're proposing we do now, or that we look at it more closely in subsequent months before we go out for a public hearing?
Sorry, I don't know what I just did. I think it's worth discussing at the board meeting what we want to do. I'm okay either way. I'm not in a huge rush to charge a fare, but as I said, I don't know how much it is still growing. It's still growing significantly. So I don't know if we want to now. Financially, we don't need it because of the CARES Act money. But this is the bigger thing is, are we going to make it harder for ourselves to implement a fare later? A few months will not. So if we want to take a little more time to see, that's fine with me too, because again, financially, we're okay without it,
Can this be addressed?
but not forever.
Okay, can this be addressed at the October finance and board meetings?
I think that's fine. And then that would
And-
put, figure you need about 3 or 4 months to implement. So
Well, that wouldn't be January 1st,
October,
then
we're
that-
looking at, no, then
that-
you're looking at
that
spring.
would be March.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm reluctant to just open this up for a free fall discussion at the board level. I think what the board deserves is to know what the finance committee and staff are recommending. And since we're not prepared to do that today, I don't think that this discussion will be very fruitful. We've had that kind of discussion at least one other board meeting, maybe two. So what I think makes the most sense is for you all to come up with exactly what you think we should be doing and what the timetable is, And we would consider that at the October meeting.
Okay.
I go along with that, Susan.
Okay, Peter,
Or,
Yeah.
or do we want to try and target, just July 1
of
Fiscal
next
year?
year? Of
for
next year?
implementation? Yeah,
I don't think we're prepared to do that. That's why I think we need to, I don't want to just have this open-ended debate among a full board. That is not a useful, it's not a good use of people's time. That's why there's a finance committee. So you need to present us with your proposal. And then we will present that to the board in October. And they can ask questions and they can offer opinions and they can change it if they want to. But I don't think it's an appropriate thing for a committee to put an issue like this out to the board and say, well, what do you think? They are owed a recommendation from us. And that
Mhm.
means that you guys need to give the committee what you think you want to do and what you're recommending. We're not there yet, apparently.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's what I would,
and, well, does the committee feel we want to implement a fair soon? Because like I said, financially, we don't need it. So it's really just a policy decision more than it is a financial decision. And whether we want to start charging a fare or not. Not to say it doesn't belong in finance, because it does, but it's just really about what do we want to do? What does the board think we should do right now? Should we, because it's not, a pressing need to do it financially.
Mhm. Well, we had that very discussion, at least
I-
at one other finance committee meeting, and I believe the consensus was that people did feel that we should eventually charge a fee. And
Yeah. What we said was we'll discuss it again in September,
in September,
or we must have meant August. It was August, September. So we said we would discuss again around this time. So that's why it was back on the agenda, because we pushed it off to now to discuss again.
well, let's take a poll then.
Yeah,
Peter,
because
do
we're
you
ready
see-
to, I'm ready to recommend a fair structure. It's more just a question of, do we want, what's the feel of the board? Do we want to do this now? Do we want to continue to wait?
Peter, what do you think?
Susan, before we vote, I looked at that 175 and it seemed to be in the ballpark of what I had anticipated the future was. And I was just wondering if we should maybe have a sense of what we like or to recommend in case somebody asked us. But now let's go on to the rest.
Well, Peter, do you support imposing a fare for this service?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Charlie,
Susan, I support proposing it, but I want to throw a question or a comment that if we do impose a fare, would that be favorable in getting DOT to continue funding? No difference between our expenses and the fare. Or if we don't impose a fare, what might be DOT's opposition to funding the whole thing? And I don't know the answer to that, but I wonder if that's a consideration that perhaps Joe might give us some his opinion on it, because I think it has a bearing on not only the fare itself, but getting the balance of the funding from DOT.
Yeah.
But,
So as of right
but-
now, it's all CARES money.
Susan,
So
at the
They
start,
don't.
I think there should be a fare imposed on it at some point.
okay. Charlie, this program is being funded for 3 years from the federal CARES money.
Right?
And so we're going to have to deal with that issue once that money is exhausted. But we aren't going to be seeing any money from DOT for this program in the next 3 years, with or without a fair.
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware of that, Susan, you know.
Okay,
it's,
okay,
When the CARES money stops, question is what happens? And,
Yeah.
you know, it's just trying to think ahead about it, because once you start it up, it's awfully hard to stop doing it.
correct. And conversely is once you stop, as long as you continue not charging for that service, the longer you go, as Joe says, the harder fare imposition becomes from a PR point of view.
Yes,
So it cuts both ways. Carl, do you favor imposing a fare?
The abstract, I think you probably need a fair. I just haven't seen enough information to help me understand what the fare should be and how it should be structured. You're going to need it financially at some point in time. It's just a matter of when you pull the trigger.
Okay. I also support a fare from a policy point of view, because I think we should be charging for the services that we provide. Number one. Number two, Middletown is going to be, as the merger moves forward, is going to be initiating also an extra fare service. And what we do here, we're going to provide it for free indefinitely, then that's what they're going to do. And is there a time frame, Joe, for when Middletown might start Extra Mile?
There's not. We've not heard anything from DOT.
Okay. Perhaps what we can do today then is pass a motion in support of instituting a fare for the Extra Mile service, the specifics of which will be determined at some future point. But that the motion would be to agree that we would request or require a fare for this service. Is that where we are?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, I agree with that.
okay. May I have a motion? And Joe, correct me on this if I don't word it correctly. To recommend to the board that a fare be imposed for the Extra Mile service, such amount to be determined.
I
Is
think
that,
this committee should be kicking around the fare structure rather than throwing that to the board.
yes, I agree. We will do that. The to be determined doesn't refer to the board, it refers to us, Carl. So that at some point we will make a recommendation to the board what that fare structure should be. Joe, is that an appropriate motion?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Do you want to say to be determined at the October Finance Committee meeting?
That's fine. That's fine. Lisa or Chris, are you keeping track of that motion?
Susan, are we asking the board to approve of imposing a fare? Is that
Yes.
what this constitutes?
Yes, it would be asking them to approve that policy of fare imposition, the amount of which would be determined at a later date. The amount and the timing, actually.
I so move.
Okay, well, before you do, Peter, Chris or Lisa, can you please read back the motion?
Motion is to recommend to board that a fare be imposed for Extra Mile service, such amount to be determined at October Finance Committee meeting.
Thank you. Okay, Peter, you make that motion?
Yes,
Thank you. Second,
Yes,
Charlie. Further discussion? There being none, all in favor?
aye,
Okay, opposed? Abstained? The motion passes. Other business?
Susan, before you leave that, maybe I'm the only one that worries, but I think that evaluating a service when there's no fare is quite misleading. And I'm trying to find a handle on where this service is going to go. And I was wondering from Joe, peak service is probably in the summer rather than the snow winter. Isn't that correct?
It's hard to say because it's mostly run through COVID. So
Oh,
that would be
okay,
my
well,
guess.
it's
I would
just
guess,
that,
but we don't have good data yet to say that that's the case.
well, I don't think we'll have good data as long as the ride is free. But
That's true too.
anyhow, that was one of my motivations. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on Extra Mile? Okay, any other business? Okay, there being none, may I have a motion to adjourn at 10:29 a.m.?
So move.
Peter, thank you. Second?
Yes.
Okay, Charlie, thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We will see you all Friday. And we will take up the specifics of a fare structure and a timetable for that imposition at our October meeting. Okay, everyone have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make two thank yous. One
Okay.
is to Susan for running this meeting and to Charlie, because Charlie always finds something that I haven't found. And I appreciate him exploring it. And I'm very appreciative of that, Charlie.
Peter,
So
I'm trying
thank
to
you.
catch up. I'm trying to catch up with you, but I don't think I'll ever succeed.
Thanks, everybody.
You know what that's
Thank you.
called.
Thank you for your kind words, Peter, all around. We appreciate it. See you Friday.